Hi guys, hope all of us are doing great. My name is Ernest and this is Ernest Sciences and Mathematics TV channel. Before you proceed, I'd like to give a thumbs up to our new members, and I'd like to kindly request them to subscribe to our channel so that we can form a large community of members discussing these specific topics in mathematics. So in this case, I'm going to look at the concept of statistics. But before I proceed, I'd like to request our members also to visit the description box of this specific video. Then I'm going to put a link of other related topics which are going to, of course, assist us have an overall overview of various aspects of mathematics, physics, chemistry, and biology. Now, in this case, of course, I'm going to look at the concept of statistics. And this is going to be an introductory part whereby I'm going to look at basically the concept of a definition, product classification of this aspect of statistics, and perhaps at the later part of our discussion, I'm going to look at some of the application areas in general. So in a sense, the concept of statistics basically refers to the concept of a collection of numerical facts. And this, of course, we can as well refer to it as an aggregate of numerical facts. Now, in this case, this is going to be a broader definition of this specific concept of statistics. But we're going to see that depending on the application areas, we're going to open up this one and give it a broader definition whereby we're going to define statistics as a science of a collection. So in this specific sense, that therefore, whenever I mention the concept of a science of a collection, we're going to refer to this one as a science of collection of what we refer to as data. Now, in this case, I'm going to basically define the concept of a data as we go by. But a collection of numerical facts in this specific case is going to be presented in terms of data, or an aggregate of numerical facts is going to be presented in terms of data. And therefore, whenever we define the concept of statistics as a science of collecting, of course, presenting, analyzing, I believe this one is correct, analyzing, interpreting. So this is going to be a science of collecting, presenting, analyzing, interpreting. And of course, we're going to see this is also going to be involved the concept of organizing. And I've not listed this one in a specific or chronological order. So this is going to be some of the activities which are going to be involved in this specific aspect of the science of collecting, presenting, analyzing, interpreting, and organizing numerical data. This is going to be done with the aspect of, or with the intention of trying to come up with a way of making an effective, or for effective decision making. So the overall objective of this specific aspect of statistics, of collecting, presenting, analyzing, interpreting, and organizing, of course, this numerical data, this is done for the purpose of assisting in decision making. Now, in our discussion on various aspects of, or rather the various application areas of statistics, we're going to see that in some cases, this is going to be a very essential part, whereby if I may give you an example, like in budgetary allocation, then therefore the government will rely heavily on the concept of statistics in trying to do some budgetary allocation. And therefore that's going to form an essence for us of undertaking these specific activities which I've basically mentioned on the second aspect of the definition of statistics. Now, in this case, I said that we're going to do a classification of this specific concept of statistics. And we can broadly classify statistics into specific product categories. The first one is descriptive statistics, and the second one we're going to classify it as inferential statistics. Inferential statistics, and this is a descriptive statistics. So these two product categories of statistics are going to assist us try to describe statistics depending on the use. And of course, in me mentioning the concept of use, basically I'm going to refer to this aspect of data that we have defined in our introductory part. So basically the concept of descriptive statistics refers to as properties of a sample or a population, whereas inferential statistics is going to rely on these specific properties of a sample or a population to test some of the conclusions that we're going to come up with from the specific data under consideration. Now, in a sense, then therefore we can be able to describe descriptive statistics as basically a summary of the graphical work, calculations, charts, and tables or tabular forms which are going to be presented. Now, in an essence, then therefore we're going to see that for inferential aspect, we're going to see this one being basically a method that is going to be used to, of course, generalize this specific aspect of our data. And of course, this is going to be given in terms of perhaps what we're going to refer to as a sample. And this sample is going to represent the specific characteristic of a population, as we're going to see later. Now, these two aspects of classifications of data, of course, depending on use, then therefore is going to form our basis for classification of these statistics. Now, as we go ahead, we're going to come across other various of classifications areas which we're going to come across, and as we are going to come across those specific other subdivisions, of course, I'm going to mention what they basically refer to. And of course, this aspect of statistics is very important in our daily life or our daily use, and therefore we're going to look at some of the application areas of this specific aspect of statistics. Now, one of the application areas of this concept of statistics is going to be, as I mentioned, the concept of finance. And they've given an example of budgetary allocation, especially by various administrations or the government, in order to ensure that perhaps some of the resources reach to the population in an efficient or perhaps an appropriate amount. So in this case, of course, this is one of the application areas of the concept of statistics, whereby the government is going to rely on the population of people or a population of a particular section, area in order to allocate resources during budgetary allocation. And next, we're going to see that another application of this aspect of statistics is the concept of epidemiology. In this case, epidemiology basically deals with the aspect of trying to monitor diseases and the nature of this perhaps spread of diseases. And therefore, the concept of statistics is trying to come in handy by trying to describe how these specific diseases are spreading amongst the population. And therefore, by monitoring that one, it's going to assist come up with the various ways or effective methods of trying to counter this specific spread of the disease. And that's one of the application areas of this specific concept of statistics. And then next, during the manufacturing process, we're going to see that the concept of quality assurance is taken into account. And this is going to be done in order to ensure that the quality of the product, which of course is being manufactured, meets the specific market standards. Now, in this case, for us to monitor and control the output, then therefore we're going to ensure that we apply the concept of statistics. And this is going to be involved in trying to identify some defects and trying to rectify some of the faults that we may come across during the manufacturing process. And of course, among other areas, we're going to see that in trying to design surveys, we're going to see that some of the methods of collection of data involve surveys. Now, in trying to design surveys, of course, so that they capture the appropriate information, then therefore we're going to involve the concept of statistics, whereby these surveys are going to be used to determine perhaps the effectiveness of government initiatives, as I mentioned the example in budgetary allocation. So therefore, in order for us to design appropriate surveys, then therefore we're going to use the concept of statistics. And of course, lastly, we can mention the concept of statistical modeling. And of course, in the concept of statistical modeling, this is going to involve coming up with the predictive models that are going to be based on specific patterns. And of course, these are going to assist in trying to come up with the methods of perhaps trying to monitor some aspects like the weather, which are of course very essential for us, especially in cultural practices and other areas that we're going to see. So in this case, the concept of statistics is going to be very essential in trying to come up with a statistical modeling. And of course, this is going to assist us in trying to come up with some of the ways of predicting the weather which I've given. And of course, lastly, we can talk about the concept of emergency preparedness. And of course, emergency preparedness is going to assist us take effective measures before perhaps a tragedy or some sense of perhaps like a natural calamity or the tornadoes or extreme weather conditions, of course, destroy property and life. And this, of course, is going to be done using the concept of statistics. Now, having some relevant information from the previous events or, of course, occurrences, then therefore they're going to assist us in trying to come up with emergency preparedness practices which are going to assist us, of course, counter or be ready for any eventuality which may come across, which we may come by, of course, in events of extreme weather and other aspects which I've mentioned. So these are some of the application areas of the concept of statistics. And as we go by, we're going to, of course, come across other areas or applications which I'm going to mention later in some of our videos. So that is it for now, guys. Bye. God bless you. Catch us in our next video.